It's the Brad and John Show.
That was my fault. I screwed that up. John, I'm the guy in a guy that says it's my fault when it's my fault. It reminds me of my favorite plane trip to Chicago. I don't know if I told this story once or twice before. You're already making fun of me because I tell the same stories over again. We're on a flight to Chicago. We're flying into Midway, and we have I want to say a rough landing, but it was a hard landing, okay? I'm always hard landing as opposed to soft crash. We hit the runway sort of hard. So in the typical Southwest Airlines style, at least in the old days when Herb Kelleher was around and ran the place the way it should have been run, as opposed to the hedge fund guys who are now running the airline. John's snoring. Okay, we hit the runway sort of hard, and the flight attendant gets on the microphone. She says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know something. That wasn't the plane's fault. That wasn't the pilot's fault. It was the asphalt."
That's a pretty good one. I love that punchline, Brad.
Okay, we ready for Brad's top three?
It's time for Brad's top three.
It's time for Brad's top three.
John, you know what? Every time you do that, it cracks me up because you do that so well. And what do we start off with, John? What do we start with Brad's top three?
Oh, I don't know how to do the three jingle, but let's play it, Brad.
It's number three.
Right there. Okay. We've talked about this before, and you would think that someone who works in the Attorney General's office would know better than to perform in public this way, okay? Now, what's interesting about this is body cam video, okay, and audio as well, too.
I watched it last night, Brad, but it's not the Missouri Attorney General's office. Let's be specific.
Okay, it's the Rhode Island Attorney General's office. John, you've seen this video, correct? Did you see it?
I watched it last night. And so, Brad, just as we set the stage here, what I couldn't figure out from the video, she said she's an AG. So
Right.
I'm guessing, does Rhode Island have 40 different deputy attorney general? Because she's not the attorney general of Rhode Island.
Right. I think she's a prosecutor or she's an assistant AG or something like that.
Yeah, assistant AG. Go ahead and set the stage here, Brad.
Okay. Apparently, this is someplace. What city was it in? Was it in Newport, Rhode Island? It looks like some old-timey kind of downtown district where there used to be like a street which has now been turned into a pedestrian mall. Didn't that look sort of the way it was, John?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way to describe it. I would describe it as like a Cafe Napoli in Clayton.
Yes, but it was to the point where there was no vehicular traffic. There were people just walking up and down what used to be like an old kind of street. And apparently there's a restaurant and there's a maitre d' there, and they called the police because these two women and a guy were causing problems and they wanted them trespassed. So two police cars pull up and the body camera, and right from the get-go, the one AG, and both of them are attractive women, what to say, late 30s, early 40s, John, would you say that?
They look like they have that look where they look like they're about 40, but they're really mid-30s.
Okay. And right from the get-go, she tells the police officer to turn off his body camera, that she knows for a fact that a citizen can say, "Hey, police officer, turn off your body camera." Now, the interesting part of that is, John, think about that for a minute. Think about, she is an attorney. She works for the Attorney General's office. Let's say a guy was holding a gun and he was robbing a store, and the police showed up and the robber said, "Hey, Mr. Police Officer, turn off that body camera. I'm a citizen. I have a right to turn off the body camera." And the police officer would say balderdash or something close to that, right? She's making...
Yeah, I think so. And sorry to interrupt, Red, but what I didn't get is, she kept stating that as a citizen, she has a right to request that the body cam be turned off.
Yes.
Is that true in different jurisdictions?
That is utter BS.
I thought so. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, continue.
It's utter BS because of the fact that why would, to the point, if that were true, police wouldn't even carry a body cam because everybody would say, "Hey, turn off the body cam." You know what I mean? And okay, the citizens to turn off the body cam. No. And remember we talked about this.
So for people who haven't seen it, so it begins with the gentleman who is either the host or the maitre d'
right,
or maybe the owner of the establishment. The body cam video begins with that gentleman telling the police officers, "Yeah, we want these two ladies trespassed." The police officer, who in my opinion was the star of the show,
yes,
unwittingly, is trying to just get the women out of there.
Exactly.
And the woman who is the special assistant attorney general, whatever her title is, she can't leave well enough alone, and she decides to quibble with the officer.
Yes, she's digging herself a deep hole. And to the point where, and see, the interesting part of this is that, and you see this all the time on body cam videos on YouTube, especially in Walmart. The way it works is, and this is true in almost every state, if you are a private property owner like Walmart and you have someone in your store who's causing problems and maybe they're not stealing something, but they're harassing customers, or you believe that they may be up to no good and you maybe have camera video of them stealing stuff, you can call the police department and you can say to them, trespass them. And at that point in time, the private property owner, and my daughter, who's an attorney, would probably quibble with me, but the procedure typically is you say, I want them trespass off my property, a private property. The police officer then goes up to the person and says, you've been trespassed, you have to leave. And at that point in time, under penalty of being arrested by not obeying the police officer's direction, you have to leave. Right, John? Isn't that the way it sort of works?
That's right. That's as I understand it. You're right.
Right. So she starts arguing with the cop, telling him about, and she's very nicely dressed. It's two women and a dude, and apparently the dude is the boyfriend of the other woman. So it gets to the point where the cop this video goes on for like 7 minutes, and the cop is constantly trying to de-escalate it. Ma'am, he's just asked you to leave. All I'm asking you is to leave. He's saying, and at one point in time, he sort of tries to back her down this alley away from where this maitre d' is standing at this.
Yeah, he's trying to create a little physical separation and just de-escalate.
And she won't have any part of it. And she starts not moving and stuff like that. So it gets pretty nasty, and at some point in time, he pulls out the cuffs and puts her in handcuffs. Well, then her girlfriend goes ballistic. And to the point where they try to put her in, and she goes, she's like in the cop's face, and she's yelling and screaming. And her boyfriend, which is sort of funny.
It's her husband.
Oh, it's her husband. Her husband keeps saying, I'm with you, babe. I'm with you, hon. Or isn't that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's, he, at one point, the cop, you saw, Brad, needed to shove that gentleman out of the way because he was a little too close.
Right.
When his wife was getting cuffed. Now, there was some good camera work. I don't want to say that you get a lot of legs, Brad, but there were some, unwittingly, thanks to body cam, there were some great shots. And this shows more than anything, Brad, not only, as you pointed out many times, the one thing you don't say to a police officer is something to the effect of, do you know who I am?
Exactly.
You don't tout your knowledge of the law in front of an officer. But more than anything, Brad, this shows that this woman who I think is really attractive, she's 34. She has spent, 17 years now getting her way with men. And if men stand up to her, she's been able to pull the I'm intelligent. And then for, 15 years now, probably been able to pull the I'm in law school or I'm an attorney. And she's been able to make men cower thanks to her good looks,
right,
and thanks to her attitude.
And
but this cop wasn't impressed at all.
Yes, not at all. And her girlfriend keeps yelling, she's an effing lawyer. She's an effing lawyer.
Yeah, and this woman kept saying over and over again, I'm an AG.
Right,
My favorite comment on YouTube was, but I'm not sure. Is she an AG? It was, and my favorite line, though, from the woman is when she tells the cop, you're going to regret this.
Right, yes, he's going to regret it. Okay, so they get her into the car, the AG, they put her in the police car. Then the other lady goes ballistic, and she just loses it to the point where by the time, what John's talking about, they put the cuffs on her. Her husband is like, we're right with you. And he gets a little bit too close. The other police officer pushes her back. So then they put her in the car, and she will not let them close the door. She's pushing her feet against the door.
I'm amazed she didn't get her ankle broken.
Yes!
Seriously, right?
And finally, the cop, and I'm not exaggerating, John. The cop tries to close the door 5 or 6 times. Wouldn't you say that?
10 times.
Yeah, 10 times. He keeps telling her, get in the car, put your legs in the car, and she keeps kicking her legs, and finally he just pushes the door closed. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I hope her leg wasn't in the door jam there because she's got a broken ankle. And the crazy thing about it is it escalates from something really simple. Now, the interesting part of this is you don't know what was said, what happened for the police to be called. But you can sort of figure out that maybe there was a wait list on this. This is me conjecturing my part. There was a wait list at this restaurant or whatever it was, little bistro, something like that. And she shows up and tries to pull, I'm the AG, I'm not waiting. Don't you think that's probably what happened? And
I hadn't thought of that, Brad. That could very well be what I just assumed, that maybe they went there and they made a scene, but you could be right. And at the outset of the video, the guy, the male figure in this of the three people said that the woman who was the assistant AG was their college friend. So I'm guessing the girls got together and they had too much to drink. And when you combine alcohol with a lifelong of pretty privilege and getting your way because you're hot and men want to help you out of your clothes, you combine that with alcohol and you have a terrible situation.
Well, the thing is, if this lady doesn't get fired over this, don't you think this is termination reason? I mean, don't you think the AG's office...
Yeah, probably. And, she'll be fine. She'll be able to go work somewhere else. And, I just Googled, Brad, and there's just a million results, of course, already. And one of the top results is Devon Flanagan married? Those are clearly coming from somebody like me that's like, mm-hmm. But yeah, she'll be fine. But I'm sure that her for the short term at least, her tenure being a public employee is probably done.
Well, this once again points out my fact that when the body cameras were first floated as an idea by essentially the black protesters, wasn't this pretty much a black thing?
Yeah, and I thought of you when I saw this. I don't mean to step on your point, but you've made the point before that when the body camera idea was like, we're going to show all the police brutality and how terrible the police are.
Right.
And in the court of public opinion now, thanks to YouTube, you see what these officers deal with every day.
Exactly. And it's the opposite. The cops are now like, hey, man, I'll wear that body camera all day long. Matter of fact, I'm thinking to myself, so much crap came out with the Google Google glasses. Remember that when the Google glasses first came out?
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, with me having my run-in with the collector in Warren County, I should just wear a body camera all day long. And man, I could.
And I know we've spent a lot of time on this one, but I think it also bears, to your point, Brad, I kept thinking of the fact that when they were trying to get the second woman in the car and trying to get her legs in the car, she's like, excuse me, that's inappropriate. How many times 10 years ago would an officer attempt to restrain a female suspect and the woman would be like, and then he started grabbing my legs and touching me inappropriately? And then what's the cop going to say? No, I didn't.
Right.
But now we have body cam and you have a woman shouting, excuse me, that's inappropriate. Well, your leg is blocking the door, ma'am.
John, can I give you a little anecdote before I go to number 2 from my old police days? This was before body cameras because I did this a long time ago as a police dispatcher. If one of our officers, this was our department procedure, if one of our officers were to pick up a woman, like let's say she was stranded on the side of the road or something like that, and she needed to be transported some way, the procedure was the officer would say, I have a female, whatever she was, in the car, and my mileage is, and he would give the mileage, we'd write the mileage down, and then when he ended where he went, if he dropped her off like the gas station or something, like he said, I'm dropping off the female passenger, my mileage is X. And that way, if anybody ever say, well, he took her out in the woods and he had his way with her, that kind of stuff, they can say, no, because from point A to point B was 2.3 miles, and that's exactly what the police officer, that's exactly what the odometer meter readings were. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, yeah. So in other words, he would ask how many miles she has on her before he took her to the woods.
Wasn't that at all. Okay, I knew you were going to say something like that. Okay, here we go.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
It is, okay. And unwittingly, John brought this up in his top 3. Okay, let's do the Tony Colombo flip test. Let's say in Clinton County, someone put up a billboard that says, hey, join Black Lives Matter. Do you think anybody would have said anything, John?
Yeah, they would celebrate, and they would talk about how brave it is. And in a predominantly white, Caucasian, cisgender area, people are standing up for black rights. That's beautiful, Brad.
Well, they put up a billboard for Proud Boys, to join the Proud Boys. And, of course, St. Louis Public Radio had this as one of their featured stories. I'm not a proponent of the Proud Boys. I don't agree with a lot of things they stand for. But isn't it their right to have an organization to essentially espouse the views of what they feel? I mean, without having their billboard being taken down? You know what I'm saying, John?
No, Brad. It is incredibly fascist and Nazi-rific to say that you're proud to be white. And if you're white, Brad, like you and me, we should spend our days being ashamed. We should not talk about how proud we are to be white. And we should cower. We should get on one knee and raise a black fist.
But yet it's okay for protesters like what happened just yesterday. Was that just yesterday at the post office where the people come and they say, kill the Jews and the
the anti-Semitism. That's okay, though, Brad, because that's entirely different. And they're not doused in white privilege like you and the Proud Boys.
John, I'm glad I do the show with you because I'm just trying to get my mind straight. So it's okay that we say bad things about the Jews, but an organization that essentially is espousing being white as being good, that's bad?
Yeah, you got it exactly right, Brad. It sounds like you're the kind of guy that listens to National Public Radio. Here's my applause for you, Brad. Clap, clap.
I don't see, to me, this is a nothing burger story, okay? They stick up a billboard, and the billboard's something like join the Proud Boys, and there's a phone number and a web address.
Family, things like that.
Right. Okay, so whatever. Okay. And matter of fact, I can remember when Brian Nieves used to do the talk show on my AM station, which is now crap, used to be KWMO, he had the Oath Keepers on all the time. Matter of fact, I believe at one point in time, I think he was an Oath Keeper. And the interesting part of the Oath Keepers was it's predominantly a very religious Christian organization. Are you familiar with them at all, John? The Oath Keepers?
Yeah, I know their name. I'm not that familiar with them, though.
Well, but we got pushback on that. Oh, you got the Oath Keepers on. They're terrible people. Well, let me think. They talked about going to church all the time. They talked about being good fathers. I'm thinking to myself, okay, explain to me what's wrong with this situation. Okay, you ready for number one?
Yeah, give it to us, Brad.
John is going to be unbelievably amazed by my number one.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
In John's top three, he talked about that on the way up. Matter of fact, was this Andrew Bailey climbing up the ladder or climbing down the ladder to make his...
Now, according to you, it'd probably be climbing down the ladder heading to Washington, D.C. Most people would say it climbing up the ladder, though, Brad.
To make his prognostication that the next county executive for St. Charles County should be I always get it wrong. Is it Justin or Jason?
It's Jason Law.
Jason Law. Okay. Last week, one person said this to me. This is Wednesday. This week, someone said it to me on Monday. Another person said this to me on Tuesday. John, we're going to make Missouri top three John Combest information here. On authority of three different people, the rumor is Steve Elam is going to run for re-election.
Yeah, that was a great news item from last week, Brad.
You don't believe it?
Yeah, it was Dave Drebes had it up last week in Missouri Scout. I'm glad you brought it up, Brad.
Well, these are local St. Charles County people saying this, that Steve is not real wild about the prospects, because obviously Steve is a ally and good friend of Mike Elam, but he realizes that Mike, and let's be honest, if I were to call Mike Elam, I think Mike would admit this as well too. Mike Elam's got an uphill battle because he's got essentially a three-way battle between him and B2 Bill and Mr. Law, and Mr. Law's got lots of money. I don't know if Mike does, and obviously Bill Eigel has lots of money, and Bill Eigel has his devotees that if he said stand on their head, they'd be standing on their head and asking how long they should stand on their head, that kind of a thing. And the story being is that Steve is still feeling pretty good, still feeling his oats, still looking in good shape. He's quite much younger than Trump, and look what Trump's doing, pushing 80, that Steve's going to stick around for another term. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think there's something to it. And so where the folks that you talked to saw this in Mo Scout last Thursday, so shout out to Mo Scout. I guess it was last Wednesday, Dave had this up. So pretty much everybody influential in Missouri reads Dave Drebes' Missouri Scout. So the folks that you talked to saw it, and then we're repeating it to you. So by the time it gets to you, it's obviously old news. And Dave's headline was one big thing, Elam Moles return to race, and laid out the case of why he's not crazy about Eigel or Mike Elam or Jason Law. And they also cited a little bit of polling that showed that both Law and Elam have a path to the race. And it concludes with, but Elam's concern is that if they both run, and aim their fire at each other, both being Law and Elam, then their paths vanish and Bill Eigel could get elected. So, yeah, Brad, it was a hot story in St. Charles County last week.
Well, the reason I bring this up, these were people that actually know the players involved, and that's what this is not something they read, because this was not something.
Okay, sure.
And the one person actually said he's spoken with one of the players. Now, there are 3 players, actually 4 players now, if you consider.
So he reached out. What you're saying is that he reached out to Elam and said, hey, you guys. Now, Brad, you've told the story before that Steve needs to sit down with those guys and say, you guys work it out.
Yeah. But see, here's the interesting thing. For me, you know what? We should call Mike Elam. You want? Can I call him, or you'll say no? No, don't call Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, in C block, by all means, call him, Brad.
Really? I get the John Combest seal of approval?
Yeah, by all means, Brad. Let's call him in C block. See if he. I mean, now, as long as we don't harangue him and say, hey, Mike, you do important government relations things. I have a question. Can I talk to somebody who's in charge of advertising? Because I'd like you to toss a couple grand at me. If you could have a serious, professional conversation with him, I'm all for it.
Okay. Should we call B2 Bill as well, too?
No. Bill's a serious guy, and you have a good relationship with Mike, but, let's not hassle Bill Eigel this morning.
Oh, you don't think Bill – do you think I hassle Bill?
Yeah, absolutely, because you flatter him on the air, and then as soon as you get off the air, you besmirch him, you belittle him, and you criticize him, which you would never do to his face or on the phone.
I've done that to his face.
Yeah, well, not on the air, and I haven't seen it.
When I was being drug out of his fundraiser, and
you should. I'm going to cut you short, Brad, because we're over time. So why don't you call Mike Elam when we come back into C Block?
Okay, we'll call Mike Elam and see what Mike says. And matter of fact, you know what's interesting? You know what commercial is up next? And
I bet it. Hey. Small businesses are the backbone of our community. So the next time you're looking to make a purchase, give a small business a chance.
Honestly, I'm not kidding. The computer has the next commercial up, and here we go.